We're on. Good morning, everyone. Guys, you're not going to believe what's coming down the line in the United Kingdom. It's absolutely terrifying. Just before I start with this video, guys, please give me a like and a subscribe. And when you watch this video, please share it with somebody that may be 50-50 on the fence. You know, those type of people who are looking at things who wouldn't normally look at things, because, you know, we need to let as many people know what's coming in the United Kingdom, you know, before it actually gets here, so we can try and put preventative measures in place, or best case scenario, prevent it all at once. Now, just quickly before we go on, I did an article, I did a video, seems like a month ago or something, about Keir Starmer. It was this article basically. How Keir Starmer went to this workers' camp in Czechoslovakia, and then he was identified as a person who may be able to do who the then Soviet Union may be able to exploit in future years. I did a whole video on this, guys. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is lots of people are now sharing that article and saying things that I said over a month ago. You know, so people are catching up. So normally we are about a month ahead of what everybody else talks about on this channel. So guys, just, you know, that's just like, you know, it's not me saying, I told you. I can give you lots of examples. The reason I'm sharing that one is because people are sharing that now. I also did a video on subversion and the process that subversion takes. Now, not to go into the subversion video, I'll link it at the end, but subversion normally takes about 15 to 20 years to process. And I know what people are thinking. They're thinking, oh, that's ridiculous. Nobody can wait that long. That's a ridiculous idea. Guys, Vladimir Putin, his first prime minister was Tony Blair. Vladimir Putin could have started subversion on a country, and now he could be taking that country. You know, and there's nothing controversial there, guys. It's well documented, it's well understood. People know how it works, and you know, people are starting to say now that the United Kingdom has been heavily subverted. We've been heavily demoralized, we've been destabilized, and we're looking like moving into the crisis phase. And if you don't think we're moving into the crisis phase, guys, just go and talk to people on the streets, you know, wherever you live. Go and talk to your family or friends. Everybody feels the same. We're having these smoking bans. We're having these fuel increases. You know, the fuel increase, and again, we don't know whether it's coming or not. This is just speculation. But people are speculating that this is going to be 10 pence per litre of fuel. You know, and Keir Starmer's talking about wanting the country to get back to work. If you put a 10 pence fuel duty, 10 pence per litre on fuel, that's not, people aren't paying an extra 10 pence. They're paying, you know, over whatever they fill their car up with. Now, you imagine you're a distance delivery driver. You're a haulage company. That is a huge mark from your margins. Now, you know, we live in a capitalist country, so people will be competing. So people will be trying to, right, I can do it. I can give you a better service for less, or that's how it's supposed to work. So those haulage companies now who've said, oh, we'll give it you for this much, and they're tied into that contract. They may be working now at negative profit. They may be at a loss, and then they may have to decide, do we keep this contract going, or do we default on the contract? And then what implications are on that contract if we default? Also, are we going to go bust? Remember, I spoke to my friend a couple, I think, not yesterday, the day before. He said he was called into work, and, he had a meeting, and they said, look, guys, when this budget comes out, we are going to have to make, in October, we are going to have to make cuts and let people go. Now, the reason I'm getting you, before we start on this, guys, and this is a rant before we even start the video, the reason I'm telling you this is because there'll be a lot of employers out there who are just not telling their staff that they're going to let people go. And all this is going to come to a natural crescendo round about Christmas time. And guys, if we have a bad Christmas, for reasons I'm going to go on to in a minute, if we have a cold Christmas this year, it's going to be absolutely apocalyptic. So guys, what is coming in the United Kingdom? Sean, tell us, Sean, what's coming in the United Kingdom? Okay, so let me share this article with you first, and I'll tell you where it leads. Now, I always see things in the weeds before they flourish, and that's why I get things out to you guys about a month before they happen. So workers could get the right to a 4-day week. Workers could be given the right to ask their employers to work a 4-day week under government plans to increase flexible working. Employees would still have to work their full hours to receive their full pay, but could compress their contracted hours into a shorter working week. Conservative Shadow Business Secretary Kevin Hollinrake claimed businesses were petrified about the plans. However, ministers insist they will not impose the charge on staff or businesses. So what does this mean then? They're not going to impose the staff, they're not going to impose it, but they're going to make it a right. Guys, this is just the first step into making this compulsory. So let me give you let me tell you what's going to happen anecdotally. When I was in the military, one para, I was on the boxing team. Now, the battalion, they would, so everybody in the battalion, they would start work on a Monday at 2:00 and they would finish at 12:00 on a Friday. Obviously, if there was operational, if there was operational requirements, that wouldn't happen. If there was exercises, that wouldn't happen. If there was work to be done, that didn't happen. But normally that was a working week, guys. And it just was. Now, what happened on the boxing team was people would say, right, okay, so we're going to have we used to do heavy sparring on a Thursday, and then people just didn't go in on a Friday because it was like, what's the point? Well, we're just going to go home on a Friday morning. But then people started to say, right, okay, well, what's the point in going home on a Friday morning? Why don't we just go home on Thursday night after we finish this heavy session? Okay, yeah. And then it got to, well, why don't we just not do heavy session and get home early, to miss the traffic so we don't have to get on the traffic? Yeah. And then Monday, people were like, right, all we do on a Monday, we get in at 2:00, we have a light session in the gym and we weigh ourselves. What's the point in coming in Monday? We might as well just start on Tuesday. So you can see how this, how this works. It didn't last very long, the officers in charge, they got wind of it, and then they came down, they clamped down on everything, and we all got into a lot of trouble. But you see where it goes once you open this, once you start having this conversation. Now, this is going to absolutely destroy the working economy in the United Kingdom. It's going to destroy it, guys, okay? You've got the smoking ban, which is going to have an effect on pubs. Pubs are already struggling, guys. All right, you go down your high street. When I lived in the 90s, when I grew up in the 90s, you could go down the high street. There were pubs, there were people out enjoying themselves. There were all sorts of wild stuff happening. You don't get that anymore now. You don't. But there's and it's because you get this. What's the word? What's the brewery capitalism? You get late stage publicans, guys. Okay, we have with our pubs, we've got late stage publicans, and I've just made that up. So you get in the context now. All pubs are owned by the big breweries, and if you want to go and work, my sister used to have a pub, and I worked it out for her. I said, Jade, you're not earning any money. You're literally, the hours you're putting in, you're like less than minimum wage. So a lot of the pubs now that work for the big breweries, they are literal slaves to the to these big breweries. Now, that's a different story. But what you're seeing with each one of these policies that gets pushed through by the government, each one of these policies is going to strangle the already fragile. I don't want to use independent businesses, but I think, like the mum and dad businesses, the smaller businesses that are family run, those businesses they're not huge corporations. They don't have government, they don't bid for government contracts. They're the smaller companies. The owners, they're doing well. They take their kids on holiday 3 times a year. They employ people from the local community. The type of business I'm talking about. that's who these taxes, that's who these price increases, they're the ones who it's going to hit the most. And guys, they're the biggest employers. I don't care what anybody says. You know, you can say it's X, Y, and Z. No, it's your local businesses. They're the biggest employers. Once they go out of business, everybody's going to have mass unemployment. So guys, what's coming? I'm going to say it now. Universal basic income is coming. Guys, look at what's happening right now. Look at all these things that are being put in place. There's no way that this doesn't lead to mass unemployment in the United Kingdom. No way. There is absolutely zero way. You know how you look back on some video. I did a video yesterday and I told you about how I watched a Steve Bannon interview from before the election, and what he said would happen is actually happening, and that video aged really well. And then you look at Keir Starmer's videos where he's saying, we will not give tax cuts to the elderly. We will not do this. We will not do this. And people now are just stitching them together as parodies. They're videos that don't age well. Guys, this is a video I know for a fact it's going to age well. So that's what's coming, universal basic income. So, Sean, what is universal basic income? I hear you ask. So, and again, I do see the argument for universal basic income, but I don't agree with the argument because I think it'll fail. So universal basic income would basically be every man, woman, and child would, well, probably not children, but everybody of a certain age, or whatever the goalposts are, would receive a universal basic income. So that would be, and I'm just speculating how much it'd be. Say it was £1,000. Everybody would receive £1,000, and then they could spend that £1,000 on whatever they wanted. You could also work, you could also do whatever you wanted, but that would be your universal basic income as a safety net. Now, the argument is, as the United Kingdom moves from an industrial economy where we produce stuff to a consumer economy where we don't really produce anything, we just consume stuff. As we move into that different economy, there'll be less people producing stuff to spend. So we need to start giving people money to spend. They will then spend that money in shops. Those shops will then employ people. Those shops will then pay taxes. And that whole financial system will keep moving forwards. Now, that's the theory. The reality is, when you take money from someone, you work for them. When you take money from someone, you do as they say. Now, I'm not saying any of this is going to happen. This is my speculation, my opinion, and I have to say that for legal reasons, guys. I've got a good video coming up next, guys, on what's just been happening in Ukraine about these two F-16s that have crashed, but I'll do that a separate video. Sorry, on a tangent. So what will happen with this universal basic income will be, right, okay, you don't agree with this government policy. Okay, right, yeah, you have a right to protest, yeah, but if you protest, we're going to stop your universal basic income because it's all digital. And once people are reliant on the government's funding, you become a slave. Now, that is the direction that we're going, guys, and that's what will happen. If we accept universal basic income, and a lot of people will accept it, guys, because we're going to be the United Kingdom as a country, we are going to be at a stage where we've been demoralized, we've been destabilized, we're going to be in crisis. We're going to have mass unemployment. Look at all this stuff that's coming round about Christmas time, and I've got another article to share with you in a minute. So that's what's coming, guys, all right? I'm seeing the seeds being planted now for universal basic income. Now, I see the positive argument for it. I just don't believe it will ever happen the way that they're going to pitch it to us. I don't believe it's going to happen the way that they're going to say. What I think will happen is they will pitch it to us while we're in the crisis, while the country's in a crisis. Everybody will say, yes, please. We'll have, I'd like to say we'll have 6 months of it being good. And then the draconian, right, okay, we're also going to do this. Yeah, if you don't like it, we'll turn your universal basic income off. All right, no, I do like it. And that's how they control you. Remember, guys, okay, money isn't real. It's not a real concept. This cup of delicious coffee, that's real. This American Constitution, that's real. Stuff's real. Money is just numbers on a screen. you know, the government can put as many zeros on the end of whatever they want. You know, it doesn't matter. The economy's gone. You know, what we're heading towards at the moment is a huge financial crash. That's my opinion, guys. You know, it's not financial advice. You know, we're heading, and I've done videos on why we're heading towards this financial crash. Excuse me. So when we're heading towards this financial crash and it starts to happen, people will be in crisis. They'll be in financial crisis. Imagine, you know, can you imagine wherever you are now in the United Kingdom? And guys, be under no illusion, this is coming to the rest of the world as well, if we don't stop it. Christmas is coming. You've got no money. You can't put your heating on. Your kids want presents. The TV that the TV that you've still not paid for, that's telling you that you need to buy all your kids these expensive presents or they won't love you. You know, the food prices have gone up, war in Ukraine, war in God knows wherever. All this stuff's coming and you're really struggling. And then Keir Starmer comes up and he says, right, we're going to do universal basic income. It's 1,500 quid per person per month. What are you going to do? You're going to take it, aren't you? And also with that, I think it will be on a card. It might even be crypto. It might be the crypto pound, you know. And what will happen? You will only be able to spend that money in approved businesses. And guess what happens then? Those businesses have to jump through hoops for the government. Those businesses have to then work for the government. So as soon as you release this universal basic income, the government takes control of everybody who's in receipt of it. Everybody who's in receipt of it, and everybody who wants people to spend money with their universal basic income. Guys, this is how you create a totalitarian state. Anyway, guys, more good news for you. So remember yesterday how I did a video on the energy situation and how I said, you know, in Ukraine, they're going to, you know, the Russians are targeting the Ukrainian energy grid. I said they're doing this so they'll freeze during the winter. Guys, it gets ridiculously cold in Ukraine over the winter. Coldest I've ever witnessed it there was -26. For me, you know, I'd spent all my military deployments, all my operational experience is in the desert. You know, it's in Iraq, it's in Afghanistan, a little bit of jungle, some various places in Africa. I can't say where. Various places in Africa. You know, so I've always been in the hot. When I went to the -26, wow, I can't tell you what it was. You know, I genuinely can't. I don't have words to describe that. Now, with the Ukrainians having their power grid targeted, they've got to take that energy. They're going to need energy this winter, so they're going to need to take it from somewhere. So that's going to put more strain on the European energy markets to supply Ukraine. Remember, us in the United Kingdom, we are not energy dependent. Sorry, we're not energy independent. So we need to import a lot of our energy, and a lot of that comes from France. So if France, you know, if the energy market in Europe is already suffering because they have to support Ukraine, where are we going to get our energy from? You know, there's a finite amount of energy. Say that this cup of delicious coffee is all the energy that can be produced in Europe. That's it at maximum capacity. Once it's gone, it's gone. If Ukraine needs, you know, if Ukraine needs energy from here, that's a big chunk of that cup gone, and it's not coming back. So then France needs it, Spain needs it, you know, all the rest, Germany needs, and Germany, gee, guys, I totally forgot. Nord Stream's been blown up, you know, the Germans are going to need it, you know, Poland. So what's going to be left for the United Kingdom? Remember, we're an island. We should be energy independent, but we're not. Anyway, so what was I going to share? Yeah, I was going to share this article with you again, because this is going to feed into the same... I'll not share it. I'll just read it. Hang on. So Libya's oil output falls more than half due to political standoff. So just in a nutshell, what's been happening in Libya? Dispute over central bank leads to shutdown. About 700,000 barrels per day offline. So guys, can you imagine? So we've got an already restricted energy market at the moment, and now we've got minus 700,000 barrels per day. So that's not being processed. That's not going to the gas oil separation plants. That's not getting, turned into hydrocarbons. That's not getting turned into diesel. It's not getting turned into petrol. They're not using gas or whatever, however else they do it. So this all has a knock-on effect. And the problem is, once you take these things offline, you can't just click fingers and come back online, because for example, when you're running a gas oil separation plant, you need staff, you need the workers, you need the infrastructure. Once you turn that gas oil separation plant offline, because you can't keep it running, because there's a financial burden with keeping it running. Once you turn it off, you need to restaff it. Can you get your staff back in? Are you paying your staff? So these whole problems around this situation, you can't just turn the tap on and turn the tap off. You can turn it off and it stops, but to turn it back on, you have to do it slowly. You have to build it up. So that's what we've got coming, guys. Universal basic income. I think we're seeing the seeds of this right now. Guys, look at my past videos. I'm about a month ahead of what everybody else is. The article I showed you at the beginning, I showed you that because I did that over a month ago, and people now are starting to share this on X, and people are starting to say, oh my God, look at this. If you've been following my channel, you will have known this over a month ago. Guys, absolutely insane times. I genuinely can't believe what's coming. We're going to see more footsteps towards this now. And just if you understand what's coming, you can try and avoid it, or best navigate it as the best navigators, however you guys can. Guys, that is the end of my video for this morning. I'm going to do another video straight after this about what's been happening in Ukraine with the F-16s. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm going to